My name is Barbara Maci Ortiz. I'm an attorney here in Oxnard. I practiced housing law here since 1990, and I was a legal services attorney for 10 years, and some of my most interesting cases commenced during my time at Channel County's Legal Services. And the cases that led to the development of via Cesar Chavez came out of an unlawful detainer. This property used to be a very old, decrepit housing for farm workers. That was from back in the 30s, and it was in real poor shape. Could look up. If you were inside, you could see the sky. Look down, you could see the dirt. And when it rained, you could see a little river underneath the house. The people had to basically wash down their walls 2-3 times a month to keep the mold down. They had rats and rodents and all kinds of difficult conditions they lived in. Finally, one of the farm workers, Alfonso Villegas, decided he was going to make a complaint to code, and this was in 1996. And so right after he made the complaint, code went out and did an inspection. The landlord didn't like that, so 2-3 days later, the landlord issued notices to 4 families, which were basically the leaders. And the plan was get rid of them and my problems are over. So I ended up in a battle, first with the unlawful detainer. The court denied us a jury trial. We had a very good defense that the court just ignored, and they ignored the testimony of all our witnesses, took instead the testimony of the landlord. I tried to do a motion for new trial based on the declaration of an Oxnard police officer, Officer Pena, who the owner had called out to help to translate. So she was on scene when everything happened. She was the perfect witness, but of course my motion for new trial was denied. And I ended up getting a stay of the eviction and appealing and pushing the city to start dealing with the habitability problems. And in about a year later, they were able to relocate all of the tenants in roughly 26 units. So after everybody was in safer housing, then we sued on behalf of eight of the tenants, and we ended up with a $400,000 judgment. So we thought, oh, well, a little money. But then the owner, in order to avoid the judgment, he signed over the property to a hard money lender, and he went out of business. The corporations went out of business, and that was, they thought, the end of that, except I sued the new owner for fraudulent conveyance. And in that, there was we didn't have to go to trial because we had put a less pendants on the property, which prevented the hard money lender from using the property as collateral to get money. So he was going crazy. So he had his lawyer make a motion to get rid of my less pendants. And we essentially litigated the whole case there. And the judge, Superior Court Judge Barbara Lane, when she was looking at all the evidence, she made a statement, this really looks like fraud. And the hard money lender was in the court, and that scared him. And so we got a settlement in a couple of days after, on Cesar Chavez's birthday. And I should say, this property is the first property that was named for Cesar Chavez. And there's a lot of them all over the country now, but this was the first. I knew Helen, his wife, and the kids, and I was able to get their permission. So they allowed me to let Cabrillo use the name. So I guess that was a first. So we made a contract. I think the most important thing to appreciate in this is my clients. When you have a fraud judgment, that means you can get punitive damages, which means your case is worth much more than it was the day before. And these folks decided that housing was more important to them than money. And they wanted to see us develop farm worker housing that would be preserved for farm workers. And so we then sat down with Cabrillo, with Rodney, and made a contract that first in the settlement, we set, this is the amount of money that the landlord or the owner can get for the property. And we had the right to determine, the plaintiffs had the right to determine who he sold it to. So after we got that, then we went to Cabrillo and made a contract as to what we wanted. And we wanted the 52 farm worker units, which is essentially doubling the amount of housing that was on the site. And then we also have the 6 single-family homes. So they divided up the property into 7 parcels, 1 for the development, and then 6 for each, 1 for each of the 6 single-family homes. I think it's a real testament to the beauty and strength of my clients, because they were the ones that said this is going to happen. And it was the strength of Cabrillo to be able to pick it up and say, okay, we'll take it on. The water table here is very high. So it was a challenge developing it because of that issue, among others. And in those days, we didn't have the housing laws that we have now. Everything was a fight. I think we had to get a conditional use permit to do it. But we did it. And it will forever be a testament, I think, to farm workers. I know when the first group of farm workers came in, it was really beautiful. They were like in shock. The men were totally in shock. It was like, I'm dreaming, don't pinch me, don't wake me up, because this can't possibly be true. The women were just so, their breath was taken away by the beauty of this. Because, a lot of these people, they came out of garages. They came out of these substandard homes where you maybe had 20 people living in a 3-bedroom, where somebody's bedroom was the bathtub or underneath the kitchen table. I mean, people moved out of those conditions into this. And some of them into 4-bedroom homes because they had families. And it was like the kids, they had their workspace, I mean, it was monumental. I mean, it was real change. And like Christina said, some of those people are still here. And then by having the ability to house disabled farm workers and retired farm workers, they have their security, because if something happens in the field and they're not able to go back to work, they can still live here. And it's the strength of the people, And I mean, Salvador, every now and then, he'll come over with a box of celery or whatever. He doesn't forget me. Every Christmas, he sends me a text, wishing me a Merry Christmas. They don't forget where they came from. And I'm just so happy that, I was able to solve their housing problem. And for a lot of others too, so.